In the bottom left, that's the red Zerg. He is Liquid TLO. So you brought up that TLO can make some fun games. I do want to elaborate on that. That it's because both these players can make fun games, right? Like TLO is the more well-known one, Mr. Creativity, Mr. Original, and that's fine. He actually still does have fun games, but I don't know, maybe he doesn't truly deserve that name anymore. I don't know. But anyways, it can still be fun. Nina, maybe a little less well-known, also has her own particular style in a lot of these matchups, and I think, well, maybe the build orders aren't that insane or that different, I do think that she's one of those players that her decision-making kind of makes me go, oh, I don't think most other players would have done that, right? You know, maybe more eager than some to go into base races and less eager than some to do X, Y, or Z, right? That's just what I recall from watching her. I actually did not get to see any qualifying matches for both of these players. I don't recall anyways. So I can't speak to their true, like, very, very recent form. I can just speak to the fact that TLO has won their previous 4 matches.
This group, by the way, as well, I know I just keep bringing up the graphics, but if TLO wins, look how even Group B is. You know, with a lot of names you expect to make playoffs kind of mixed in amongst names you don't expect quite so much. Australia and Future once again leading the pack. Really, really fun. It's worth mentioning as well, right, that top 2 is so important because you actually go into the winning bracket of the playoffs instead of starting in the lower bracket. So, especially for Nina right now, a win would be really cool because it keeps her in the top 2 potential, right? It keeps her in that race. And that could be so important for a deep run in the playoffs too.
Yeah. And it's worth noting just because it's actually a sick prize pool overall, but everyone who wins a series gets $100. So that's always pretty nice cash.
Damn.
You darn Europeans get paid more, but that's okay.
That's also kind of wild, huh?
You know, I thought it was more, or that you get paid.
Sorry. I thought it was 125, but I'm just looking at Wikipedia, and they've given 125 to each player for a win so far, but below it actually does say 100. So you are very correct.
Well, you can't trust Wikipedia. Who can we trust?
I mean, they're half right and half wrong, so I'm happy.
Yeah, which one we choose?
Yeah.
All right, so we got a typical Oracle opener from Nina. TLO has not gotten the hatch blocked. Oh, he has gotten his creep tumor killed. That was a nice snipe there. And the third hatch is well and good. She actually lets the Adept shit into the main, but that's going to cost her the life of the Adept. Not for very much, actually. That just got a creep tumor, right? And a drone.
Yeah. I got a drone.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fine.
Not so bad.
Yeah.
Don't know why I said a drone like 4 times over, but okay.
Well, it's 1 a.m. head is what I'm going to call it.
Yeah, I'm very... yeah, that could come across very wrong, ZG. As an oracle.
Oh, no. Oh.
Are we getting fired after this cast? Like, we just going out all guns places.
I guess we're both losing it.
It's been a long one with you know, very minimal breaks in between. As we've got a melee upgrade coming through. I like Taylor's response. It's Stargates. He's gonna get to, you know, take the chance to skip the roaches, go straight to melee upgrades. That means your Ling Bane style is super dangerous right away, right? You get those Bane's able to just kind of run at mineral lines. They're gonna one-shot workers with +2, and that is absolutely terrifying.
Yep. I believe he just explained the +2 dynamic. So yep, all in agreement.
Yeah, I mean, not really much you can disagree on there unless you in your mind, you've nerfed Banelings in the last half an hour.
Maybe. So, probably, is this one of our most typical PVZs? Because not the Void Ray or carrier shenanigans, but just because we saw a lot of Zerg players go for lurkers, actually. Like, it feels like I haven't seen Ling Baneling Hydra or Ling Baneling Ravager today.
The only time we've seen Ling Bane is when Silky walked 10 Banelings or 20 Banelings into gateways, so... And that obviously wasn't really Banelings as a follow-up either, right? So... Yeah, it's been this stuff is kind of like plus melee upgrade sort of progress in that direction, right?
Yeah. Alrighty then. Nina's gonna be going into Colossus and well, I assume Colossus. I have a Twilight Council as well, so I was gonna say Blink, but then I was like, oh well, where's the Twilight Council? Not coming down, but the Forge is. There it is. All right. I felt like it was a little late. I don't. I actually don't do this style. I know it's this style to do, Blink Colossus, especially with some of the best Protosses showing the real power behind it, but I haven't personally tried it. I don't believe in my force fields, Wardy. I basically just hope Archons soak every Baneling hit.
Yeah. This is the reason I don't try to play Protoss. There's just too much. This probes die too quickly. It's great.
Yep. All right, Burrow is on the way. Okay, finally something to mix things up. So +2 still on the way. +1 Carapace still on the way. Different Cloak's still on the way. But an Infestation Pit with Burrow? Ling Baneling Swarm Hosts? Ling Baneling Hive?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I do know there's a lot of Lings just kind of surrounding this kind of army, which is not going to work out too well because Nina's army is pretty darn good right now. Especially when TLO's obviously just not got Banes in this. He's building into so much extra behind it. He's not really meant to win a lot of fights out on the map. Forcefield is going to keep Lings out, but it's also going to keep this army here, and there are Banelings about to show up, so now has to put some extra Forcefields down, and Nina will create an escape plan, blocks the front door, and gets out the other way.
Oh, very scary stuff. Most of the force fields have been used, so that's still something to consider if TLO is really just powering through here. It is for a fast hive, by the way, so Ultras?
Yeah.
Or just Abducts? I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens.
I guess Abduct kind of works, but the way he's playing is almost like a ZVT style, where you go pure Ling Bane, and then you go straight into Ultras, right? And that's the power.
Yeah.
You get like super fast Ultras. I wouldn't mind an Abduct or two for the Colossi, but then what are you abducting them into? Like the front line of Ling Bane? I'm not even sure how well that works. So
It's not, obviously there's like an engagement in open field. I'm not so concerned about abducting, but if he's trying to find positioning, then that's when like the Vipers can abduct the Colossus off the cliff and off the chokes is what I was thinking. But I think I did throw out Ultras first and foremost because I do think that's what it's going to be. But then we see a Roachborn being added on. I'm like, well,
drop the Lords.
Okay. 5 of them? He's gonna drop all of his Ling Baneling into the main?
Or they could drop into the main and run everything else elsewhere.
Ah, the big brain. That's just your creativity, maybe.
I'm just trying to think outside the box because that's exactly what TLO does, You
ain't wrong. Still no Ultraless Cavern.
Yeah,
Adrenal Glands, there it is. And a couple of Vipers.
And Vipers. It's everything we thought it was going to be.
We're both correct.
I mean, to be fair, right, the Vipers are something which are so easy to just add on 1 or 2, and they go such a long way, so I can get behind that even if you've, got a greater plan.
Yeah. Well, Nina is going to be surprised by this, I think. This is a partial drop. It's a partial fake. I don't know what you want to call it. It's not actually real. 2 Overlords full of Lings does cause a recall and warping as well. But nothing else is happening on the map, so this actually isn't that big of a deal.
A lot of these Lings going down. This is just an easy cleanup. Now, there is Lings running into the 3rd base, and this is where these Banes can become very terrifying because they are on +2, so it's a good thing I explained this dynamic in full earlier as the probes take a turn, and that's a lot of dead probes, and TLO is finally going to find some damage.
That's very unfortunate because it was not like it was the best 1-2 punch. Like it happened at both the exact same time. Just unfortunate that Nina didn't have any army over there or static defense. 18 probes down. That is bad, but I was already a little concerned for Nina because while TLO's procedure here is unorthodox, the end result of having Ultras against someone who A, doesn't know about them, and then like B, might depend on force fields to hold on to her army, you can see how that could go very poorly. Does Nina have any idea? She did see the Hive, but not the Ultraless Cavern, and 6 Ultras are about to pop. Chitinous Plating is not quite done, so I don't know if TLO wants to engage, but man, this would be the best place.
Yeah.
Now I've seen.
Gonna see. I mean, 5 Ultras about to pop, so you couldn't fight right then, right? There's so much supply just waiting to come into play. I get kind of worried though. Like Ultras at this kind of stage of the game kind of feels like the Protoss shouldn't just die them. But then, I mean, TLO is doing this for a reason because he's obviously had Protoss players die to them before. So yeah, let's see how it works out. I mean, I think it's always fun to see something very different like this and see how it works out exactly. I like the bit of SimCity protecting cannons and stuff on this base because that's only going to help against these Ultras, block them off. And right now, these first couple Ultras, well, they get blinked on. But they kind of survived longer than I thought they would. The other Ultras coming in, this was a very elongated way of going for the surround.
Yeah, not exactly the best timed on all angles, which gave Nina a little more flexibility to pick and choose a little bit there. But I also do want to give kudos to Nina for handling that. I don't know how often she's up against a style like this, although she might be somewhat familiar with it. And with the immediate counterattack in mind, she's already here, started clearing up that creep. Force fields aren't necessarily what's going to save her. She needs something like a choke to go back to.
Yeah.
But good job taking care of the Vipers. They didn't really get any abducts, even dying. See this like lone Phoenix.
Yeah, Nina's playing this well. She's also playing this very patiently, right? She's not looking to dive in and kill a base. She's not like, oh, I gotta get a base right now. She's actually just gonna back away, and a few more Ling run bys are gonna try and start up and gonna get into the natural, which is obviously a pretty big deal. Now, the Lings on the right side, they're going to get Hammerbeth blocked in, so it's still expensive for TLO. A lot of Lings will go down. How many probes is he going to end up getting in the end? Was that the Templar Archives that went down? That's kind of a big deal, though, right? Taking some Archon production out, so... Okay, I can still get behind. It's not just Archons, but High Templar as well, obviously, for Storms. So, yeah, it's still expensive. It's still a lot of units from TLO running in, but is getting economy. And is, of course, at the same time, just on a very good eco of his own, up to now 6 bases.
It's pretty insane when these Lings have adrenal glands and +3 melee. They literally hold position for 1 second, not even it felt like, and instantly 7 more probes died. So pretty brutal, and then the Burrow finally being really used to force Nina to respond and clean up. This is a style that, I don't know, it's got 2 things going for it, right? It can just run around all day, and also it can catch Nina off guard. Like, it is going to be able to swamp the Protoss army without, you know, a second's notice. So those are 2 things I'm scared of. But for Nina's sake, the way that she can tackle this is by using the map terrain and hopefully getting some of the better units against Ultras, like Immortals, which usually would not be producing right now. So she's gone back into that. Unfortunately, going to lose like 17 more probes. Main base under attack, production under attack, and the wall for later.
Yeah. This is what TLO is doing really well, right? Just attacking here, there, and everywhere. In a straight-up fight, his army probably doesn't do great, but in a straight-up fight where Nina's only got 1 chance and TLO can rebuild a couple times because Nina's got no economy left, it's a very different story, and I think TLO is just doing, again, a fantastic job of running around absolutely everywhere. Going to kill this Robo, shut down an Immortal from producing, that's big. And now TLO's on the front side of this base as well, so that Rich Vespine base in trouble too. Yeah, just, again, expensive for TLO maybe in terms of how many units go down, but with 82 drones and this many bases, just needs to get a rebuild, and he's going to be off in a way weird time to start building Infestors, though. I feel like you do not right now have, like, a bunch of time just to get Infestors up.
Yeah, but I guess that's the whole idea, is that hopefully you can always buy time. Eventually, Nina should just say, I can't do this anymore, and push across the map, but that's when she's going to be a little bit desperate. So TL is hoping that not only can get these Infestors out, but he can get Neuroparasite, and I believe his plan is to Neuroparasite. I mean, maybe the Colossus, sure, but I'm thinking more of the Immortals, and then they'll take out every unit. We'll see what he chooses, as they will be prepared. Nina's army supply is better, but she really needs positioning on her side as well. The upgrades for these Ultras are very, very scary. The Blinding Clouds could be very, very scary. And, well, at least the main has been cleaned up. But Nina, a bit desperate. If she continues on like this, she will eventually just bleed out, and I'm going to do that. So there's the push. Coming in from the right side. Tila's going to evacuate that base.
Yeah, Extractor, Hatchery going down, a couple of DTs. Want to go chase those Ultras. I mean, that's nice. Something to kind of chase those away, but TLO is set up for a big surround. Blinding Clouds is going to force Archons forward into a horrible spot as the Stalkers will blink away, but I mean, the Storms are really good, but now the Neural Parasites are on top of all of the important units, so Colossi and Immortals are just fighting these Stalkers, and they're actually doing so much damage. Wow. They actually did so much before the Infestors got cleaned up. TLO, it's a big fight, but there's still a lot here from Nina.
Yeah. A couple of things happened there that I couldn't quite keep track of, but Neural Parasites grabbing those Colossus, yeah, I don't know if the Colossus is really the thing to grab. It looked like TLO also focus fired while they were still under control, where maybe he should have been focusing more on cleaning up those Stalkers. And without the Lings that actually did get burned away, the Stalkers could micro against the Ultras well enough. So what ends up happening is that it's kind of still a close game. Nina has a 30 army supply lead. She's just warping in now. TLO is trying to run by and at least cause us to be more all-in than ever, which he might be successful in, but I like the DT defense from Nina.
Yep, those Slings counterattacking, trying to buy some time, but Nina honestly just has an army, I think, that's going to win this game. Especially in a position like this, TLO's army's never really set up the fight. Those Banes are rolling into an Archon door, and that just means you've got to pay to open it. And there's just so much left in the main base still. Those two Colossi, real MVPs at this point. They have seen some things, those Colossi.
Oh, wow. So that's what can happen with that style from TLO, man. Like, it's actually not the better army unless it is in that perfect scenario where everything comes together. And even that last fight, one of the initial problems that everything didn't hit like as soon as they possibly can. It actually come in literally at the same time. So that was kind of an excellent showing, I guess, from Nina to show what can be the problems there. And it was also a pretty good showing from TLO to, you know, see what can be strong about that. But now Nina is up 1-0, and maybe TLO doesn't do the unorthodox ultra stuff anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you could see why it was going to work, right? Because he's only one cleanup away from making it work, and you know, a couple extra Banes connecting to that final army, and maybe it's just not powerful enough to kind of hold on. So it was very, very close in the end, but Nina really well handled, because it is so tough to deal with run-bys here, there, and everywhere. It's so frustrating when you lose your economy for like the 4th time in the game. You feel like you can never afford anything. You feel like the Zerg is just throwing endless amounts of units at you to keep you calm and to say, right, let's need to build up and go for that one big push in the end, and you can make it happen. Really well played. And that gives me a lot of hope for Nina going forward in this series, because I know TLO loves this kind of style. He loves to run around everywhere, throw units here, there, any mineral line that's open. So seeing Nina win against what I would say is kind of TLO's preferred style in, no, not just ZVP, but ZVT too, right? Like, that's just how he likes to play in the last few months. That really makes me wonder what TLO does in a second game, because again, to me, that would not, this now should not be his go-to style. So yeah, let's see if Nina can capitalize maybe.
Yeah, I could see maybe from his perspective, he was like, actually was in like, he was in control, right? Like the whole, you know, issue of can I take on the main army was, you know, let's forget about that for a second. He was in control of the game. So if he sees, like, he thinks about that and he goes, you know what, I know what I could do better on the main attack. Yeah, he probably could have gotten a full surround better a couple of times. His armies were a little disjointed, and he probably could have been, you know, more prepared to hit Nina's army in the middle of the map as opposed to when it was kind of just up against a ramp. There was opportunities, so I could see TLO trying it again. I would, if I was like his coach, I don't know if I would advise it. We're headed into Eternal Empire, which is probably going to give us another 4 or 5 base situation.
A little tougher to run by this map, right? Because you can get a really good wall up on front of the natural. So there are only real access points when you go to like 4 or 5 bases, and then you've got different ways into the 3rd, and it can work, but there's definitely less options than there is on Everdream, for sure. So that's something to keep in mind as well when TLO kind of chooses his playstyle going into the second game, which we're loading into as we speak. So a moment or so, and we'll see if Nina can wrap up this final series of the day 2-0. If TLO is going to take us to yet another 3-game epic, which seems to be the flavor of the day, ZG. I feel like only the first couple of series had 2-0s.
Yeah, the first series of today was a lie, basically. Said it was going to be quick, and then, well...
It was like, Brain of Bly's like 8 minutes long, both, you know, 2 games combined. It's like, well, you know, if that's how today's going to be, it might not be so bad. And then everything else is like, no, this is not how this tournament works. It's in the bottom left-hand side from Axon Esports. It is Nina.
The top right for Team Liquid is the Red Zerg. He is TLO. Ooh, I think you made an excellent point about the lack of run-by options. I mean, you can kind of force the issue. You break down their natural wall once. Maybe they don't repair it. You do some of those Ling drops, but TLO didn't. I mean, it's funny, he made 5 Overlord drops. I think he only ever used 3 of them. Like, you can try and get around it, but that, I'm thinking more about those drops. I kind of want to say that TLO is going to go for Roach Hydra Lurker, and is going to go for drops with Lurkers. I don't know. I'm really feeling it, you know? I don't have much more reasoning than that. I'm just feeling it.
Yeah.
Well, that, and I think he's... Even when people were always going for Ling Baneling Ravager, it did feel like TLO was a little more stuck in the past. I remember casting him a couple months ago and being like, well, everyone's doing this thing. Why are you stuck on this thing?
Yeah, TLO's been very committed to the styles that he likes, you know? I respect, but I feel like there's definitely like almost a cap to that, which is once your opponent figures you out a little bit, you know, your style becomes just that little bit worse, because there's a reason not everybody uses it as a go-to, right? Because there is a good way to play against it. There is a counter to it.
Excuse me. Yeah, the Nina having to respond mostly to that last game, I guess, didn't really show any particular weakness. She did do a good job of responding. Maybe she was a little late to responding, but she did keep her calm, keep the pro production going, and chose the right composition. So it really was TLO forcing her to pick and choose. So I guess we're gonna be looking for that again here. Can Nina go for like a Twilight Council? Yeah, sure, I guess. In fact, this might be one of those games. Warp Gate's already underway. TLO's gonna see that, and actually just a later Stargate. Alrighty then. Okay.
Yeah. Nothing too crazy in the end. Stargate really just made a return in PvZ lately. Like, after watching Twilight Councils in like 90% of games since March, it's kind of refreshing. You know, back in January, I remember the good old days of being like, oh, another Stargate opener, guys. What do you want me to do? Explain it to you again? Because I was actually like, yes! Air units! I'm so excited. Because, believe it or not, watching Glaive, the Depths, run around Zerg bases became pretty old.
Got a little tiring? Yeah,
a little bit.
So.
A little bit.
Well, I mean, this might have successfully deceived TLO. I mean, it really was the later Stargate, one of the later ones you can get. But
second Stargate? Yeah.
I was kind of wondering. Like, it seemed like also the insistence was getting a stalker, of course, as opposed to an adept or two adepts. So I was like, something sneaky's been hidden. TLO's not going to be able to determine what that is. You know, eventually the Oracle will show itself, sure, but then what about the second Stargate? That's going to remain unscouted. TLO adds on, it looks to be like a safety Roach Warren, which isn't going to help him against double Stargate.
Yeah, we'll see how far he goes as well, because the worst feeling is when you make 8 Roaches, and then it's just not going to do anything. Nina's going to go Oracles as well. I actually really like this, because I feel like the Phoenix is like, it's fun and all, but I feel like the Oracles can just win games when you catch your opponent off guard, and you know, again, TLO, he's got no way to really scout this. Nina will not even reveal the first Oracle either to kind of clear out the Overlord for high ground vision. So it's going to be a chunky bunch of Oracles. Oh, I'm excited, ZG. This is fun.
Ooh, throwback, man. At one point, well, mass Oracles was literally the thing to do. Everyone was doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, what maps are we talking about? Like Catalina? Like...
No. It was after that, right? It was more recent than that, because Haas popularized it and everybody was playing it. It was it not around the time where Haas got to the DreamHack finals in Valencia?
Was it around that time? I was trying to remember the map, at which like I just remember very distinctly. You're right, it wasn't Catalina, but I guess maybe it had like a similar tile set. Because I feel like it was also like in the off season, because I was also playing around with it. Like I don't quite remember, but yeah, it was definitely a thing. You might be right about it being around Haas. There you go. Yeah.
So like Catalyst, 16-bit, Acid Plant, Darkness, Redshift, Lost and Found, Dreamcatcher. I don't know if it was exactly this map pool, but it was around then for sure.
Well, the funny thing that would happen is that, I mean, so I just remember that at one point Blizzard was like, let's take away the magic tag of Oracle.
Yeah.
And then they could just pierce through the Ultras. Or sorry, they couldn't pierce through the Ultras anymore. I think that was fun. But anyways, it's a very old style. It's going to be a big surprise. Like TLO, he's not only going to not be able to do very much of these Roaches. This is a bit of a, I don't know, how you doing? That's not really committed. How is he going to defend against the Oracles flying across the map?
Well, the Oracles are going straight across the map as well, right? Like, Nina's just saying, you know what? I'll take some damage here because my Oracles going across the map without you being prepared are going to do so much. There is 4 Queens on the map and 3 Spore Crawlers, and obviously you're going to pick away at these basically one at a time as the Oracles fly in. This is going to be a fantastic time. Down goes the Spore Crawler. Yeah, this is not looking good. Nina's just going to kill the hat trick.
Yep, that can happen. TLO, even if you brought every single queen round, even if you tried to transfer over his Spore Crawlers, it just wouldn't have worked. So he has to give up the hatchery. He is building a Spire, which actually back in the day you would eventually have to get, it felt like. And I think what's really sucky is that, okay, what really sucks is Spire's going to be canceled. But also what really sucks is that that third base looks like it might just be able to survive. TLO desperately throwing anything he can at it. And the Oracles are out of juice right now.
Yeah, what's making this? A Void Ray about to show up though, right? So the Void Ray doesn't kill the Lings super quick, but it will get rid of the Roaches, and it will just put out consistent damage, which is good news as well. I think it's okay. The other Oracle's coming home. You know, killing a base, I'm not sure how much I like that, because TLO has a 4th up already. I really feel like these Oracles miss a chance to do so much more economic damage. Like, the natural missing doesn't really mean much. Canceling the Spire was good though, I guess, but...
I would feel better for TLO if he'd gotten that Nexus, so, like, I actually really don't know what to think about this game quite yet. Since TLO is still on 3 mining bases, 61 workers, it's actually, you know, kind of okay. Rebuilding his 4th. Spire play, as I was saying, like, at some points it kind of felt like a necessity. People would try and go for Hydras, and it was kind of an even worse problem than going against Phoenix when you've already kind of been surprised. Hydra's can be very difficult to use, so Spire was certainly an option, but do you play into then Yuta Corruptor? Does Nina respond by actually going into, like, I don't know, Mass Air herself? Like, what happens from here on out? We got +1 started for Nina, but no more Phoenix production? Just there it is.
So the spike came up, choices mutas, but I don't like it at all, right? Because you're making mutas against someone who already has double Stargate. Obviously, Nina is already making Phoenix too, so these mutas, in theory, shouldn't do much. They should be very limited in damage they can deal. I like that TLO is obviously not going long-term plan purely mutas, is going into Hydra Den instead as the next step, but I feel like if you shut down these mutas, you can go across the map as Nina and just, you know, you're going to fight into, like, Ling Hydra, like, without upgrades on the Hydras already. Like, it's going to be bad.
It's going to be brutal. So adding on some Corruptors. So Nina's going to have to make sure not to... Well, hold on here. It's funny because if Nina, you know, over-dedicates, quote-unquote, to the Phoenix and then actually ends up winning the air war, it's not like she's got dead weight. Yeah, the Phoenix can actually still help out even against the Hydras, so it's not even a bad option. But I think she will be trying to make sure that she knows when to move away from the Phoenix, and in fact she already kind of is. Blink, +1, and a Robotics Bay. I don't know. The supplies might not look that bad, but it feels like Nina is kind of ahead in every turn. It obviously has more control over the game than TLO does. Maybe if TLO can get into a nice, comfy position with his workers and his economy, maybe he can make something happen.
Well, I feel like Nina's just obviously backing away a little bit. I do feel like these Oracles, for example, lose a lot of value over time. You know, yeah, a couple of them are always nice, good utility, but there's a point where 6 Oracles just don't do anything anymore. Like, they activate Pulsar Beam, they get killed because there's just so many Hydras out. So I wouldn't mind if they stayed a bit more active and even a bit more divey still. Like, if these Phoenix go and, like, lift up a couple Hydras and then they kind of fight now. I feel like I'd prefer that more than them sitting back at home. I can appreciate maybe Nina's a little bit afraid of if TLO gets aggressive, though, as this one Corruptor looking for some scouting, but will not get in.
I would like the army to be out a little more. Phoenix, Oracle. It's scary because you don't know if they have dedicated to Corruptor Muta, but you kind of have to figure it out. Like, have they done that or not?
It's so mobile, right? Like, it's so mobile anyway. Like, it's so safe. It's like, how often is this army going to get caught in a position where it's genuinely in trouble? As I feel like the Oracle's activated, or did they deactivate? I don't know. Anyways,
weird.
Yeah, they definitely flashed, right? I'm not just seeing things.
They did, yes.
Okay. Just
I guess
double checking.
She thought there wasn't a second Spore Crawler, maybe, and then realized it wasn't going to be.
Yeah, I guess just on and off really quick.
Yeah. So, but the Revelation goes down in the natural. It's not on top of the army. She's kind of guessing at what the army is a little bit, but she's not exactly not set up to deal with this. We got an Immortal on the way, Storm about halfway done. Stasis traps is what I really wanted to see too. Like, when she saw TLO's army coming, stasis traps, please, and well, they're coming down now. Plenty of them.
Now you reveal them a little bit by building them so far, you know, with the army here. I like this little loop around the backside because that's going to deny some of the mining on the 4th base already. So now Nina has to go deal with that while also dealing with the army at the front. So TLO making this as awkward as possible as the Hydra's in a pretty good spread. Will that damage output be enough? The super batteries available. Oracles are chasing Hydra's down. Stalkers are blinking on units. The Phoenix show back up, and they're going to come in. Some lifts would be very valuable because they can kill a lot of the Hydras as they maybe try and run away. And I think Nina's holding on just about okay, but it's still kind of weird. it feels like TLO doesn't have a lot, and yet it's still just sticking around for such a long time. Now blinking forward, Nina is going to start getting some extra kills.
Yeah, I think TLO did overstay his welcome a bit, and maybe his supply felt okay, but you're right. When you actually looked at what was on the front lines, it was really wearing thin. There was certainly that awkward time where Nina didn't have Storm, and it made it look very, very suspicious, but she was able to appropriately read how to engage. You know, the blink over to the left was really well done, and the Phoenix could have come in at the last second. Shield battery is obviously great. And then TLO was the one that kind of overstayed, thinking he had a shot. He did not double Lurker Den on the way. I think that is going to be for double upgrades. Oh, the Hive is not done. Oh, it is done. Oh, my bad. The Hive is done. So double upgrades. Lurkers will be coming in quickly and well upgraded. And Nina's not going to stop that from happening. She pushed forward, cleaned up some creep, and retreats back to save her fourth base from harassment.
Wow, Stalker's showing up. Roaches and Hydra's going to get chased away on this right-hand side. Nina is going to push that back. Double Lurker Den from TLO ain't looking too hot. I mean, especially when you don't have the Hive. Actually, it does have a Hive. Wow.
Dude, I literally just did this 30 seconds ago, and I'm not even yelling at you. I'm just like, dude.
Yeah.
Samesies.
I know, like, when did this all happen?
I don't remember when it happened, but it did. Now, TLO, I think maybe me and you both, you know, I don't want to speak for you, but I thought his economy was going to be a little bit worse than it was. For him to get maxed out and also go up to that Hive, I was like, wow, okay. But I guess with the natural being down, he replaced it pretty quickly. So by the time he was up to 78 drones, he was off of 4 bases. So he's gotten everything you would expect from a late game PvZ, and things have really evened out. Now Nina's going to have to deal with Lurkers, and that's going to be the next problem. Maybe now we'll see some Overlord drops, but clearly this game went differently than I expected or TLO expected. Your number is not too high right now.
I do like the idea of what TLO's doing, right? He realizes he needs something different and quick, so the double Lurker Den to get those upgrades makes perfect sense to me. Let's see if it works out, because Nina's getting aggressive. Left a lot at home, though, by the way, so... I mean, a counterattack from TLO won't do much, but it means that this attack of Nina shouldn't, in theory, do much either, because she's got so much supply back at home. I mean, now TLO's actually sending a lot across the map as well, so this is going to be weird fights on 2 sides, but Nina disengages on the top to make sure that a fight doesn't happen. That's TLO. Well, not now, but now TLO's already backed off, right? So she can just focus on this fight, so it's the right sort of time, but those Lurkers are scary, and I think it's maybe good enough to scare Nina off, but now as TLO's going to end up flanking.
Well, and then Nina's trying to flank the flank, and it's all types of weird. Nina's going to be on one side on the high ground, on another side on the low ground. Maybe eventually they're going to marry up all their entire army, and this will calm down a little bit, but Nina's left side army is a little late to the party. TLO now has 9 Lurkers? That's a pretty decent amount because they have both upgrades. But it's not exactly in the most prime position. Maybe Nina can tackle this. She's actually going to blink forward aggressively on top of the Lurkers. I mean, a couple of them weren't quite burrowed yet. They burrow now. That one doesn't. That one's not burrowed either. And this is just awkward. TLO's getting stormed to death, but the armored units here for the Lurkers, they're starting to chew through. Maybe, you know, the Lurkers are all dead. So actually, Nina is able to do this. She's got enough Stalkers. She's got Immortals. She got Phoenix to help out. And TLO is forced to remax here on 22 Roaches. That was an interesting fight right there. I feel like if TLO had every single Lurker all together burrowed, I feel like it was so much worse.
You could also argue the same thing from Nina, because her army was just like half her army engaged and half the army wasn't even there yet. You know, it was still off to the left of the 4th base. So if she got there a bit faster, like storms come down sooner, and that changes the fight even more so. And come out in a very weird spot. I don't like it for TLO anymore, because building 22 Roaches is never good. Like, that's just, at this stage of the game, that's like, unless your opponent has like nothing left. Like, if Nina was on like 20 workers, building 22 Roaches might work, but Nina has 70 workers, so Roaches are just kind of like, oh my god, I need something right now unit, which in minutes time when Nina's rebuild are just not going to scale well. And Nina obviously feeling comfortable to go to carriers, and that's the real power play. That's the real, hey, I'm in a comfortable spot. If I can just get up to carriers, as a Protoss, you're probably in a pretty good space, and Nina's absolutely going to get there without dying.
Yep. She's not going to die for those 4 carriers pop out. And 4 carriers right off the bat, that's something a TLO would already want to be preparing for. You want to have Vipers, you want to have the Spire on the way, or like the Disruptors on the way. The Spire from earlier. And he's going to be a little bit surprised by this, I think. Kind of caught up in the mid game where Nina's already moving on to the late game. Some decent harassment as well as Nina keeps tabs on her opponent. Keeps tabs on the army positioning. TLO might be getting to this natural. There's a lot of lurkers.
Yeah, that's a really nice position, but I guess the side, of course, is a pretty good target, right? 9+2 attack. How much is really here? There are 4 carriers out. Where are the carriers? Are they somewhere interesting? They are nearby. I just don't think there's enough Hydras here to actually stop the carriers. So you're going to lose these Hydras, and the carriers just have free reign over everything else, right? Going to recall a few units as well to help out. The Lurker's already leaving. I mean, a few Queens showing up. As the Phoenix come back in, and I mean, these fights are still chaotic, and they're still all over the place with Roaches in the bottom right having a good time too. At the end of the day, it's just TLO continuing to bleed out units, and Nina is looking fantastic.
Yep, Nina's dealt with everything with not too much trouble. And now 4 more carriers are about to pop out. TLO desperately trying to get to some Corruptors, really can't afford to do so. He has bases, he has drones, but 56 drones? That's not what you want for late game PvZ. No, this could be the death push. I think it is. TLO has 6 lurkers, not even all back at home, and 20 Hydras, and 4, maybe 8 Corruptors.
Oh, the spores are just not really in position or anything, and now Nina is going to force TLO to kind of fight into the Protoss army, which is obviously great for the Storms. It's like, you know, as TLO at the very least, you want the Protoss to be pushing into you, but in that position there, you kind of force the opposite. Nina backs away, isn't fully confident about being able to end this game, and will let TLO live a little longer, perhaps a little bit frustrated by this lurker that she has to deal with, but she will get rid of that. It is, again, coming all the way back home, and TLO will live, again, just a little while extra.
Yeah, it is just about, you know, a couple extra seconds of life here. Is TLO, if that extra couple of seconds was him getting unsupply blocked, and then suddenly, bam, 20 Corruptors are on the way, all right, yeah. But it's him still slowly tacking on Corruptors, and even losing some. So, yeah, that's going to be 3 more for a total of 10 Corruptors against 9 carriers, a lot of Storms, and still a lot of Stalkers. At least +2. TLO's upgrades have really stalled out. He's not gotten into air upgrades. He didn't get any Carapace upgrades.
Yeah, I mean,
but loses space.
TLO's been playing a game where he's just been surviving for like a long time of this, I think, rather than... I mean, he's made plays to try and win and clean up the army, but at the end of the day, he's been stuck on an army, right? And now it's kind of transitioned into having, like, you know, staying on mid-tier tech to kind of maybe have a chance to overwhelm. It's now staying on mid-tier tech to just sort of hang on in there, because if you do anything else, you're just not going to have enough on the map. And yeah, I mean, the Corruptor count is building up, but there's so many Stalkers. The support for the Corruptors is fairly lackluster, really. Again, there's just so many Hydras in this army and a good few Storms, and they're just going to disappear.
Yeah, the Corruptors would have to get, I don't know, find carriers out of position, basically, like a straggler, you know, like a line finding a deer here. And it's going to be unlikely. Nina's not going to have any reason to have one carrier off in the middle of nowhere. And TLO, while you would usually say, well, that's what Abducts are for, can't even really afford to get Vipers, although I do think if you're going to use your gas, maybe Vipers would have been the option. So let's try and dance around the feedback. Instead, he adds on more Lurkers, which are canceled and killed anyways.
Well, now he's got the gas for Vipers. Yeah. Well, TLO is going to kind of sweep in from behind, but the problem is now Nina's already up into the good position, right? And TLO is going to have to fight up his own choke points. I mean, this is where Nina was like a couple minutes ago, and I lived the position then, and I live it again for all the same reasons right now. It just forces TLO to fight into you. Here we go. The Corruptors are going to go diving. The Hydras are in a horrible ball in that round. Oh, no. Oh, no. It's a massacre.